Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Lindsay Humphreys, and I'm the Program Director for Junior Achievement of New Mexico. Today, you are joining our virtual career speaker series, and this is a super special week because we are partnering with the New Mexico Science Fiesta, and they're helping us put on this event today. So if you're joining us from that today, welcome. And if you're joining us just with our normal population of people, then welcome again. So thank you so much for joining this program. This program is designed to reach students across New Mexico. Then we highlight business professionals, entrepreneurs, and innovative thinkers from a variety of industries. So the speaker today will be sharing their details about their education, their job, and their career journey. Before we get started, a couple meeting reminders. So like I said, this meeting is recorded and we post that video on our YouTube channel for anyone who would like to listen after. And then you can share that YouTube link with anyone once that's posted. And for our records, if you would all take a minute and into the right-hand corner, there's a dialogue box that has, right now mine has a number 3 on it. If you could just type in your first and last name into the chat box, that helps us keep track of who is on the call. And I know a couple of people have done it already, but if you have students on the call with you, if you could also tell us how many students are on the call with you, that would be fantastic. During the speaker's presentation, please make sure all of your mics are muted. And if you have questions during the presentation, you can write them down into the chat box or just jot them down and you can ask them live when we go live after Rhonda's presentation. So today we're so excited to welcome Ronda Cole Harmon, Director of Air Force Research Laboratories STEM Academy. So Rhonda, the floor is yours.
Great. I'll see if I can get technology to be on my side today. Oops. Hang on. I thought we had this down, but there we go. So I prepared some slides for today just to try to keep everybody in the loop on. I'm going to do it this way, guys, because I can't see you when I do it that way. So if I do the slide presentation, I'd like to at least see some faces. Does that work for everybody? We don't do the presentation. So keep me on track and to share some old pictures and to help jog some thoughts. So welcome to my journey. I have a really cool job. It's something that's, it's really my passion, and I came across it in an unusual way. I mean, it was a meandering journey, and I think that's maybe how a lot of journeys start, when people are trying to think, what do I want to do? And sometimes you just keep pushing ahead, and you'll take some really cool turns around the corner. So I'm going to share my turns around the corner with you. I've sprinkled my presentation today with some quotes that inspire me, and so I'll point those out as we go through each slide as well. So kind of my go-to thought is what's on this first slide is, if you're going to achieve excellence in the big things in your life, you've really got to develop the habit in the little matters. So if you do it in everything that you come across, then it becomes a prevailing attitude. It's not the exception. And so excellence in all we do is something we're going to talk about later on, is one of the Air Force core values. But that kind of moves me to think about that. Everything you do, you're building good habits, and we're working towards that. Being successful is being excellent in the things that you produce, and the work that you do for others, the relationships you have with others, and so forth. So I run a program called the STEM Academy. It's part of the Air Force Research Laboratory STEM Outreach. They're a local research organization here at Kirtland Air Force Base, and we work with K-12 students. And this is a screenshot from our website. Our tagline is inspiring the workforce of the future. Really want people to think about what are the opportunities that are out there. So it's an opportunity for students to apply STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, those concepts in context. So maybe you're launching a rocket, or maybe you're learning about chemistry, but we have projects where you're doing things, you're learning about STEM career connections and so forth. And so it's exciting to me because every day is something new. I get to learn, I keep learning every day. I get to build things. I get to work with kids. I really miss not having face-to-face contact with people, but we're making the best of it in the virtual world. So we do hands-on things, and even in this virtual world, we're finding ways to pivot and get some kits out to kids that are participating in our program so they can still do hands-on things. In a typical year, we had about 10,000 students and about 150 teachers. During the time of COVID, that may be a little different, but we're gearing up for a really great 2021 school year. So hopefully some of you will share this with others out there as we're recruiting for our participation this year. Some of the things that we do, I just took some snapshots of things that we do. We have a big event, and the little bubbles that you see are Mission to Mars. Pretty sure that kind of an event is going to be a long time coming before we get back to it. But we used to bring 1,000 fifth graders together at the convention center that were carrying out a simulated trip to Mars. And so I don't know, some of you may have actually done that trip or taken that journey. We've been doing the Mission to Mars for like 25 plus years. Students actually learn about the planet Mars and develop things, but it's a really cool event. It's just not in our horizon now. So we've pivoted to something this year that's virtual, and you can check it out on our website if you'd like. I'll give you that link later so you can see if you want to be involved. But we do hands-on events. You see Orbit at one of our booths. You see a big rocket launch that we do with kids in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a robotics program. We have a high school program building an egg launcher. We have a middle school program where we teach about satellites and their applications, the kind of the guts behind satellites. You see a young lady there soldering. Those are the kinds of activities we want students to start to explore so that they know that, gee, when I make a decision about what I want to be, I do it with my eyes wide open. I have lots of options in front of me versus the things that I see day to day. Maybe I didn't know that launching a rocket could be interesting to me and exciting for me. But once I see that and I have that experience, it may change my mind and I may want to pursue something down that line versus the other things that I've seen in my life and through school and the normal routes. So just a matter of, our focus is really kind of in the engineering world. That's the Air Force Research Laboratory does a lot of engineering and science work, but it's going to be more on that kind of chemistry and mechanical aerospace, electrical engineering is kind of what our focus is. The job skills, I just took a minute just to kind of list some technical skills. My job kind of falls into two parts. I run a contract. So I'm a contractor through New Mexico Tech. I actually have 2 places of employment, but I work at Kirtland Air Force Base for the Air Force Research Laboratory. So I have to be organized and running an agreement. I do budgeting, I collect data, I report, I use spreadsheets. They're my best friend. I supervise a team of 10 folks that make our program possible. But I also get to develop some fun STEM activities. So I learn all kinds of new things. I need to kind of understand what the Air Force Research Laboratory is currently researching. So we may focus a new activity on satellites because that's one of the areas that Air Force Research Laboratory researches. So if I know more about that, I'm going to make that activity better and more engaging for folks that are doing it. We use CAD software and 3D printers in our facility so we can do prototypes, and so it's really fun for me to be able to have access to all this. I have a little engineering lab. I actually have an office that the office I'm sitting in now has a drill press over in the corner. It's just so fun to have that kind of an environment where I can create and see kind of your ideas come to life. I also recently took over the job of designing a website and administering that website with 2 other people from my team. And when I say me, I actually mean my collective team. It's not, these are all me. This program is part of a team effort. But so anything that comes my way for the program, somehow I have to develop skills to make that happen. And having a good foundation, which we'll talk about later, is what makes that possible to go through all of that. So, but soft skills are really essential in your success in any career. So I took time to list a few soft skills. Especially in the time that we're living in right now, being adaptable and flexible are so important to be able to continue to be successful. We had to pivot within like a 24-hour period where we're working from home recently, and a lot of you did that. So you understand what it's like, or the stresses and the challenges of being thrown into something, and the more adaptable you are, the easier you're going to get through those things. Communication is a really big skill. Those of you that are out there writing things or having to write down notes and whatnot, you think, oh, why do I have to learn this? Well, let me tell you, in the work world, it doesn't get any better. You're always writing. I don't necessarily think writing is my best thing to do, but I try to do a good job at it. And so whether you're using pictures or whether you're using words, you really have to be able to communicate both verbally, visually, and in written words. So interpersonal skills, big stuff, guys. I really strongly believe that relationships are really the biggest key to success and continued success is when you build relationships with others. Understanding that if you don't know something, that doesn't mean you should quit. That doesn't mean you're stupid. It means it's time for you to start learning. A growth mindset says, hey, I can work hard. I can learn how to do this. I can get better. And I'm going to look for opportunities to improve. Those things are really important. So the attitude that you come into a job with can be a big indicator of whether you will be successful or not. Other things that I thought were important is being organized and knowing where your work is. Not my dog ate my homework. That doesn't work in school. It doesn't work when you're in the work world either. Being a team player, working with others, letting others take the lead when it's time, sharing the spotlight with others is very important. And then having a work ethic, putting in the time you need to succeed. So whatever you do, you're going to have some different skills that you're going to need to hone, and every job is a little different. And you might find some skills that you're weak at. I'm constantly growing. I'm not at perfection level in anything, but I'm going to keep striving to get better because that's part of that attitude, that growth mindset that I want to be the best that I can be. So looking back at how did I get here? How did I get to this job that I'm passionate about? I work long hours because I really love what I do. And unfortunately, I have an understanding husband who knows that my job is important to me, but so is my home life as well. So it's important to have that good balance. But how did I get here? Well, I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. I graduated from Lincoln High School. So there's a picture of me in my band uniform. What a geek, right? The big buffalo hat. I don't know how we marched in those things. But my reason for putting this picture in is because when I was in high school, I always loved mathematics. That was my favorite class. I had a math teacher, Mrs. Patience Fisher, and she was just awesome. I knew I wanted to do something with math. When you take whatever the testing is that you take in your junior year, my counselor called me in and said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to go to school and I want to do something with math. I want to go to college. I want to do something with math. And she looked at my scores and she said, well, you scored higher in language arts and in history. And so I think maybe you ought to pursue that instead. I was heartbroken. I was shattered. I didn't have the support there. But it's like, history, I didn't want to have anything to do with that. So I didn't get the support or the encouragement from that key person in my high school world. And so that kind of set the tone for when I moved on to college. So I did go to the University of Nebraska. I graduated in '79 from high school. I graduated in '84 from college. It took me 5 years to get through school. And I took different math classes. I could have had a minor in math, and had I sought out, I'm not going to blame other people, I'm going to take responsibility for myself, but had I sought out more support from the folks that were there to give it to me, I may have gotten a double major or a minor in mathematics. But my first year as a senior in college, I was at a loss. I didn't know what I was going to be. I had taken actuarial science courses. I had taken accounting courses. I had taken different things where I thought I could use math. And I just didn't find a good fit. And so I actually remember going to a professor's classroom, and I broke down sobbing in tears, and I'm not a crier usually. But I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I finally decided that, well, the one job I knew that I knew what it was about, and it had math, and it was a math teacher. So I switched my courses around, took another 2 years to get my teaching courses in, and graduated with a degree in math education at the secondary level from the University of Nebraska. And then I moved to New Mexico. I love New Mexico. I didn't know there was any place that had a climate like New Mexico. The big vistas, it's a beautiful place. I've been here for 30 plus years, so it's been a long time. I feel like I'm almost a native. And I ended up getting a master's degree from New Mexico Tech. Great little school down in Socorro. If anybody is interested in engineering, any kind of science research, great school. If you haven't thought about it, think about it. So I graduated in 2008, and I'm there with my advisor, Dr. Westfall, Professor Westfall. He is actually more proud of his being a professor than his doctorate. So it was a great path, and I learned so much from all of those experiences. So let's tie that education then into my job history. When I was young, I always wanted to have spending money, mostly because I wanted a car. I really wanted a car badly, and I didn't get my first real car until I was out of college. So I had a long time jonesing to have a car, something to drive around in. But I started working when I was 15 at a local restaurant called Cool's Restaurant that would hire you if you were under 16. Most jobs you had to be 16 or over. So on the left-hand side there, you see me in my uniform. I did not like waitressing. I did not like the menu at Cool's Restaurant. They serve things like liver and onions. It was not really my favorite thing. So as soon as I turned 16, I got a job at a cooler place. It was the Corn Popper, and so they actually took a picture of me. That's from the newspaper. They came to do it. It wasn't of me. It was of the Corn Popper, and there I am holding an ice cream cone. And so I scooped ice cream and I popped popcorn all through high school. And really had a great time doing that. There were some fun people. There were only two people working at a time, but it was still a fun thing to do. In college, I did not want to smell like popcorn after I got off work, so I got a job at a retail store. It was a family-owned department store called Miller & Payne. They were bought out several years ago by Dillard's, so some of you may know that store. But there I am shaking the hand of the president of the company after I got a service award for they had secret shoppers that would come out. But I worked in the buyer's office because I wanted more hours, and the buyer needed some help, and so I really liked doing the behind the scene things with at the department store. It was more fun to me than folding clothes and things on the floor at the department. So what I learned through those jobs, some valuable interpersonal skills. I had to work with customers. I had to get over my shyness. Believe it or not, I was a very shy kid, and that's still kind of part of who I am. And I also had time management skills because I was going to school during all that time, and I maintained decent grades. So, but I also had my own money, so I was independent. I ended up saving a lot of it, and instead of buying a car, I ended up buying my first house with the down payment I had for my car. So, long story short. So next, my career milestones. When I got out of college, we moved to New Mexico. And I got my first teaching job at an Annunciation Catholic school. It was really exciting, but it was really scary too. I had the 2 years of teaching classes. I knew the mathematics, but nobody ever really told me, how do you set up a classroom? How do you do all this stuff, right? It was really scary. And so I had to think about, how am I arranging desks? What am I putting on the bulletin boards? All of these crazy things. And that's a picture of me from the open house the first year I taught. Parents were going to come in, and it's kind of an exciting time. From there, I actually taught at Las Cruces High School. I opened the new high school down in Las Cruces, which is not new anymore, I guess, Oñate High School. And then I came back to Albuquerque, and I taught at West Mesa High School. And so I really loved teaching. It was exciting to me. I wanted to find ways to get folks excited about math because I loved math. And I was shocked at the attitude. Miss, we're never going to use this. How is this important to me? So I started to think about that. It's like, wow, how come my students aren't seeing the relevance of mathematics and how it can make their life better? While I was still at West Mesa, there's a program called New Mexico Mesa. Mesa stands for Math, Engineering, and Science Achievement. And I became a Mesa advisor in 1992. So it was it can be an elective class. We had a lunchtime program or an after-school program. And it was the first time in my life that I actually saw like math connecting with science and technology and engineering. It was so cool. It was like, this is it. This really brought things to life for me. And so that was kind of an energizer. Through the Mesa program, I learned about a summer program that they had at New Mexico Tech called the Summer Teacher Enrichment Program. And they would hire teachers for a summer job so that you could learn a high-tech job and then bring some of that back into the classroom. And I was like, oh, yes, this is the kind of thing that's going to help me answer that question when somebody says, Miss, when am I ever going to use this? So I applied for 3 years running for this program, and I never heard a thing back. And it was like, what's wrong with me? Don't I have the right skills? Blah, blah, blah. Well, after the that third year I applied, a gentleman called me. His name was Gerald Mora. He worked at what was the Phillips Laboratory at Kirtland Air Force Base. And he said, well, I got your resume from this program, but I don't really have a job for you. I just wanted to call you and say thank you for applying. And I said, wait. I said, what can I do to make myself more attractive for a position like this? I said, I'm a math teacher, but I really want to figure out how math works in the real world so I can bring it back to my students. And he said, well, I don't know. I don't really have any answers for you. We just don't have anything available. 2 weeks later, he called me back and he said, we have a program that they want us to implement here in New Mexico called CAMI. It was stood for Computer Assisted Math Instruction. It was to use some software that the Air Force had developed at Brooks Air Force Base to teach word problem solving to high schoolers. And he said, would you like to come and work for us this summer? And I'm like, yes. So that was the summer of 1994. 25 years later, or more than 25 years later, 26 years later, I'm still working here. My summer job became my passionate career that I'm in now. So it was pretty cool to have that happen. And it wouldn't have happened had I not spoke up and reached out and tried to grow, tried to make myself better, saying, if I'm not what you want, how can I be what you want? And I actually ended up, finding that path. So wrapping it all up, I believe that there are two key things. You have to have some guiding principles to help you be successful in whatever career path you're choosing. So I put a little funny in here. This is a Superman cartoon. And if you can read the sign there, it says, warning, laws of physics strictly enforced. And the officer is writing Superman out a ticket. So we all need to follow the rules, but we also need to have kind of our own guiding rules to be successful. Here at the Air Force, they have what are called the core values. And I like them, and so that's why I added them in here, and I'm just going to explain them to you quickly. There's integrity, service, and excellence. Integrity means do the right thing, get your job done, follow through on things, be responsible, be accountable, own up to your mistakes. Service before self, is following the rules. But I think it's even bigger than that. I think it's making sure that you're serving your fellow man, that you're taking into account others, you're being a good team member, you're going through that. Now, these are my interpretations of the Air Force rules, so don't go telling anybody, well, Miss Rhonda said that this is what the Air Force says. This is my interpretation. But the last one is excellence in all we do. I really feel like that's important, that all your work product, everything that you put out there is a reflection of you, but it's also a reflection of your family. It's a reflection of the school you're from. It's a reflection of the community you're from, the state you're from, and so on and so on. So I feel like I would like to put my best foot forward. So a couple of quotes at the bottom here. Think about this one a minute. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So you've heard the old story. If somebody gives you lemons, make lemonade. That's where this fits in. No matter what situation, what hand of cards you're dealt, how you react to that and what you do with that is what's going to determine whether you're successful, not whether you got the great starting point. The other one is this. I love this quote because it's from a football coach. I'm a big football fan from Nebraska. We used to have a really good football team, but it's been a while since that's happened. But Vince Lombardi, who was not a Nebraska football coach, but he was a great football legend, said perfection is not attainable. So, those perfectionists out there, I tend to be kind of a perfectionist. We're never going to get there. Forget that. Forget being perfect. It's not attainable. However, if you chase that perfection, you can catch excellence. And so that's kind of where you think about excellence. You want to do your best. Try. Keep trying to make it better. one of the things that the Air Force Research Laboratory, the Air Force in general, has is like a continuous improvement attitude. And so everything that we do, we try to get feedback from people out there and say, hey, how can we make this better? What worked? What didn't work? What are your ideas? And we take all of that in and try to make the program better. And I can tell you, after 25 years of doing some of our STEM outreach, our programs really have gotten better. But there's still room for improvement. We're going to keep chasing perfection and hope to get better. So finally, the secrets to my success. Quote that I have here is, there are no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. But I will leave you with 3 thoughts here. Never give up. Stay curious and build relationships. Okay? Never give up. Let's look at that a minute. Remember, I told you 3 years I applied to this program, never heard a word. And if I hadn't spoken up to the man that called me and said he didn't have a job, I would not be in this job today. I would have some other job, but not this job, and I love this job. So failure is always an option. We teach the engineering design process, and really what that involves is coming up with a new iteration every time. If something fails, well, you found out one way that didn't work. Try another way. Try another way. And so you keep developing a product until you get it to where you want it and it does what you want it to do. Same thing can happen with yourself. You can be version 5.0 or 10.0 as you keep it in reimagining who you could be and reinventing yourself and building your skills. So the important thing here is my math equation for you. If you fall down n times, make sure you try again or get up n+1 times. So as long as the number of times you get back on that horse and ride it is more than the number of times you fell off, you're going to have some success in your life. Curiosity is very important. Learn. Things are changing. Information is doubling at an incredible rate. Technology is advancing. If you don't keep up, you're going to be left in the dust. If your job changes or as the economy changes, you may have to go back to school. You may have to learn new skills. You may have to get a certification in something. Stay curious, ask questions, keep ahead of kind of what's going on so that you can be more prepared when things happen. Curiosity is, be a lifelong learner, I guess is basically what I'm saying. But one big thing that I didn't understand that were out there are internship opportunities. The Air Force Research Laboratory offers internship opportunities, paid internship for high schoolers. So if you're interested in a STEM career, the time to apply for that program is like at Christmas time, in November, December timeframe in the holidays. And the last slide, I have our email address, and we have actually a link for you to get to some internships for high schoolers. So I would really strongly encourage you to take advantage of some of those programs so you can kind of try on a job and see how it fits before maybe you start going down that path, getting degrees or taking classes and different things. And then the final thing is build relationships. Nothing in this world happens without people. And so be positive when you're working with people. Be respectful of yourself and others. I think it's really important to learn people's names. Say hi to them when you see them. Check in on them. Develop relationships no matter who they are. I see folks all over the base. Some guys are in the shipping and receiving part, and I ask them for special favors all the time. And I don't think I would get their help if I didn't care about the relationship and try to build something. We don't go out and do things outside of work, but we have a work relationship where we respect each other and we make things can happen because you take the time to get to know people and respect their needs and they respect your needs. So my last 3 quotes: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Think about that. You're the driver there. If you want to do something, believe in yourself, you can do it. All right. Quote number 2. Einstein: the important thing is not to stop questioning. Stay curious, keep questioning, keep asking, what if, try this. Don't take no for an answer, okay? And finally, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So if you build good relationships with people, they're going to have that good feeling when they see you, and they'll be much more willing to help you than if you didn't do those things. So lastly, there I am as a young, I don't know, it's 2 or 3, it's on the slide. Life is really too short, and I think the most important thing is that you enjoy the ride that you're on. Find a career path as something that you want to do. There's a t-shirt company out there called Life is Good, and their slogan is, do what you love what you do. And I think those are really good words to take to heart. If you want to have a job that doesn't feel like work, do something you love, because every day you're going to do that thing, and it makes you happy. So the internships and the missions that I talked about for our program are afrlnm.com/STEM. And I'm ready for questions if you guys have any.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rhonda. That was great. Your words of having the quotes to back up your 3 pieces of advice was just super powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to move into the Q&A portion. If you would like to unmute and ask a question directly to Rhonda, you can. We also have some questions that were given to us in the registration. So I'll start us off with one of the questions from the student who registered. So how can a student learn about the field that they are most adapted to in which industry?
I think it's a matter of searching. You know, what do you enjoy? And I mentioned the internships. I think if you say, well, I'd like to do something like I'd like to do something with math. Should have sought out the math people and say, hey, where are internships? Don't be afraid to take no for an answer. Build relationships with your teachers. Teachers have a lot of great connections. They may not have all the answers, but they can make connections there. So again, it's that relationship building. You're never too young to build the relationships. So keep trying to connect with people, ask questions, and see if you can get to where you want to go. You may hit some wrong bumps along the road. Oh, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, but that's why you try it out. So look for internships, read the descriptions of what they're going to be brave and try one out. And then that might help shape your choices as you look at something new.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Question number 2, if there's not anyone who would like to unmute. Okay. So question number 2 that was asked was, what encouraged you to choose this career? We kind of talked about that. Do you enjoy your job, which we talked about? And then what are some of the obstacles that you currently face?
Wow. So of course, right now, the biggest obstacle in my life is starts with a C, it's COVID. And so how do we overcome that? But again, it's that flexibility, the adaptability, the relationships that you've built. We work with teachers. That's how most of our programs are delivered. And so we capitalize on those relationships to try to figure out how can we work with you in the schools. And so that's the biggest challenge, is how do we do this virtual world right now, and stay relevant and get kids that need it, right? So I think really that's my biggest part. I think I answered the other 2 before. I love my job. You know, I mean, how can I not have fun? I have a drill press in my office. You know, I have a doer for liquid nitrogen under one of my desks. I'm a geek.
All right, we're going to pop over into the chat box. We have a question from Justin Gomez. How does someone find what they love to do or learn to love what they do?
Well, I think that's where you have to kind of that metacognition. You have to know yourself. You have to know what you know. You have to know what you enjoy. So think about things. You know, are you a detail person? Do you like to work with numbers? Do you like to work on a computer? That's one set of job skills that you could do. I know there are probably tests you can take out there, and they come with, you know, there's different websites I've seen where you can say, what are you best suited for? But I think who knows what you're best suited for better than you? So you know the kinds of things you enjoy. If you like to be in the outdoors working with animals, well, you're probably not going to be happy being an accountant in a big firm, you know, or maybe you're going to do that so you can afford to do the things you do outdoors. Sometimes there's a trade-off. So again, it's your choice. I happen to have a job that I love, and so my job is really my hobby, because I do a lot of things related to my work for fun. You know, I like math, I like puzzles, I like building things. So I do some of that stuff at home. So I think it's different for everybody, but you need to seek that out. So don't be afraid, try things on, say, how does it feel? If it doesn't feel good, try something else on. You need to keep searching. It's a lifelong goal, really.
Excellent, thank you. So does anybody have any questions, or should we still go through the chat? Anybody would like to unmute, go ahead. Okay, we'll go to the question from the pre-registrations. So number 3, what was your most memorable experience with AFRL, and what other military bases have you collaborated with or worked at?
So probably my most memorable, it was a summer I came to work here in 1994. The CAMI program was kind of making some big splashes because the folks at Brooks Air Force Base, which I got to visit in San Antonio, had developed the software. We were going to implement it in schools here in New Mexico. And there was a general visiting from the Pentagon, and he was driving around the base, and I got in a car with an airman. He was my chauffeur, and we were catching up at this van that the general was in, and I had to get in the van and brief this general. I felt like I was in a spy movie, you know. It was just like, wow, this is such a different world than what I'm used to. So that was kind of a memorable thing. But lots of opportunities like that have come up. I've gotten to travel to Washington, D.C., for the Starbase program, which is another program that we have in our STEM Academy, when I was the director of that. And so it's really neat to be able to connect with people across the country, and many of them are from other Air Force bases. So I've been to Hill Air Force Base. I'm going to leave something out. I've been to Peterson Air Force Base up in Colorado. So a lot of things are related to work that we're doing with folks educationally. So STEM outreach is big for the Air Force. We want to create that workforce of the future. We need the good technical people out there, whether you're a military person, a government civilian, a contractor, or somebody who supports all of that infrastructure. It's really important to have you folks, a nation of well-informed people out there.
Thank you. Hand it over to Patricia to read the last chat question.
Hi, Rhonda. The last question is, did you have a mentor during school and or early on in your career?
I really didn't. Well, I guess maybe not a formal mentor. When I first started working at the Air Force Research Laboratory, Gerald Mora, the gentleman I showed you the picture of that when I came to work at the lab, he was a great mentor. He had worked with, at IBM when they used to have computers that filled up rooms. So he worked on computer programs like that. He worked on a shuttle program. I mean, he'd done all kinds of really cool stuff. So there have been a couple of gentlemen from here at the lab, Dave Founds also, that took me aside, and they would explain things in ways that they explain things in terms of applications. So the science and everything just came to life. And so that's probably, I was in my early 30s when that all started. So those were two gentlemen that really made a big impact in my life. I mentioned that, my high school math teacher inspired me, but I wish I would have sought out other people to help me figure out where I wanted to go earlier on. So I think I got kind of a slow start. I always tell people if I'd been born a few years later, like 5 years later, I probably would have done something with computers. But when I was in college, when you took computer classes, you had to go and sit at an X terminal, which was in the basement of a building way on the other side of campus. You didn't have a laptop computer or a desktop computer. And so the only time you could get time on the computer was like 11 o'clock at night. Well, who's going to walk across campus at 11 o'clock at night to go to this big, empty building? So 5 years later, the laptop came out and people were working, things changed very rapidly, but that's an area I really would have loved to get into. So I still dabble in, whenever I can do things with computers, I love it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, we want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we're going to wrap up. So thank you so much, Rhonda, and students that are on the call and teachers. I hope we see you tomorrow as we welcome Tina Hernandez for our continuation with the New Mexico Science Fiesta. We'll have Tina at 10:30 a.m. and that registration link was in your information packet that you got this morning. So go ahead and sign up. We'll be keeping signups open until the end of today. So go ahead, Trish, if you want to share your screen really quickly. She's going to show her slide for the New Mexico Science Fiesta. You could share some feedback. And so just so all of you are aware, there is a post-program mindset survey that will be coming out to you by the end of today or early tomorrow. If you complete the survey, you'll be entered into a drawing for a chance to win a gift card. I recognize some of the names on the call. They have won gift cards not very many people sign up these surveys. So it's very easy to win a gift card if you do the survey. So please do the survey. If you do the survey by Friday, you'll be entered into the drawing and we'll pull the winners on Monday. So if the teachers are on the call with you, ask them to send you the link to the survey and we'll get that done. Lastly, like I said, we will be continuing our STEM focused careers, and we'll be welcoming Tina Hernandez from Sandia National Labs. And then next Wednesday, we will be featuring Marcia Majors, the CEO of US Eagle Credit Union. So keep an eye out for that email as well. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you all tomorrow.